Well, Nina, thanks very much indeed for spending some time with me. You've spent 3 years as President of the JCCV. What have you achieved in that time?
I feel the community internally has become closer, more cooperative, more cohesive, which was one of my aims, very much one of my aims, because whilst we have always done the external representation superbly, a representation to government, to police, with NGOs, in the multicultural area, with multi-faith, JCCV has always done that extremely well and is recognised as having done that extremely well. We haven't always looked after our own quite as well. And I think the more united we are, the more collaboratively we work together, the more we understand each other as organisations within the community, the stronger will be our community.
What's the role of the JCCV?
Well, it's a dual role. First of all, it is, as I have indicated, representation and advocacy to the external world. We meet frequently with government, with opposition, have excellent relationships. We have some formal meetings. We have many informal meetings which come about as the need and opportunity arises. We do that very well. We meet with other ethnic groups, other religious groups, and try to integrate within the larger community whilst keeping our own sense of identity and worth. That's part of our external role. Internally, I think it's to support our affiliates, to act as a governance body, to give our affiliates a focus of where they belong, how they belong, and from my perspective, of how they can interact with each other.
What are the biggest issues facing the Victorian Jewish community?
We've had very serious concerns about the levels of anti-Semitism recently on campus, on university campus, but of course off campus as well. That has been a grave concern. We've had issues of security, which are parallel. JCCV, as you know, is in charge of communal security through its communal security group, through this CSG, and which is an incredibly professional and well-run organisation, and which works very closely and cooperatively with the police force, as does the JCCV. We have excellent relationships with the police, and I thank them for all they do for us. So, as I say, anti-Semitism, security, they have been concerns. Child protection issues, that has been a very big concern of ours, and we have been addressing it in a remarkably efficient and productive way. And to go back to your first or your earlier question about what one hopes to achieve, the child protection workshops, which we have been holding this year, have been a wonderful example of what can be achieved. In the first instance, they have trained a large proportion of our community in how to write policies and procedures, how to put them in place, what they should be looking for in protecting our children, keeping them safe. And that was the purpose of those workshops, and that has happened. But the huge side benefit from my perspective, and the thing from which I get the greatest joy, is to see people from organisations representing totally different and diverse religious streams, totally different schools and philosophical organisations, sporting organisations. These people have come together from our community, worked closely, worked cooperatively, established relationships which will go way beyond what we have just done, and which have shown me that we can respect each other and work in a collegiate and collaborative manner.
What have been the biggest frustrations?
Trying to get our community to understand just how much we do and how effective we are. It's so amazing that externally we are so respected. If anyone wants to hear what the Jewish community has to say, they come to myself or to our executive director, David Marlowe, and they respect what we say and they listen to us. We are cited as a model of what a community should be by the Multicultural Commission, by government, by opposition. They say, you want to know how to do this, go and have a look at the Jewish community. Why is it that the external community understands that, but internally people don't, or not all people do? That's the frustration.
As you hand over the mantle, what's the vision for the future?
One of the things that I hoped to achieve when I came in was succession planning, and to have the younger generation involved. I can see that future taking shape, and I'm immensely excited by it. I think to see young people step up, do a job, do it better than I have done, for example, that's real success. I like to see involvement of the younger generation. I'd like to see, on the leadership level, I'd like to see more involvement of my age group and people older than I, perhaps not on the leadership level, but in mentoring roles, in supporting the community. They can take a step back from the front line, but do a lot in the background.
You talked about anti-Semitism, tolerance. Have we become less tolerant as a broad community?
I hope not. But I believe we may have done. I think there's been a lot of politicization, a lot of polarization. The world is such an insecure, unsteady place at the moment that we tend to become frightened and shrink into ourselves. And when we do that, and when we're less open to other thoughts and other ideals, everyone else is the same. And of course, as we know, anti-Semitism is a wonderful scapegoat, and it's a wonderful sort of escape route for people who have narrow minds. And yes, I am afraid, but I think not afraid to the extent that I think we can't deal with it. I think we can deal with it. I think we have the mechanisms. I think we have the people in the community who can speak up for our community. I think we've developed relationships with government, with opposition, with universities that enable us, and with other organizations, communal organizations, that enable us to deal with this. It's not easy, but I think, yes, we know how to do it.
The fear that creates, does that make the JCCV more relevant today than it's ever been?
I hope not. I would hate to think that we come together only through fear. I would rather we came together through wanting to work as a united and strong community. I would like to think that the JCCV gives the community a sense of security, that we do know what we're doing, and that together with all our other organizations we can deal with matters as they arise, even serious matters like anti-Israel and anti-Semitic matters. So I would like to think that we don't become overcome by the fear, and that brings us together. I would rather other things bring us together. I was so incredibly heartened by the 2 pro-Israeli rallies in which JCCV was involved, to see the spirit of wanting to get together in a peaceful way, in a cooperative way, not in a frightened way.
So is the most important role that JCCV plays one of empowerment?
I think that's putting it beautifully. Thank you. Yes, it is one of empowerment. It's one of advocacy to the outside world and empowerment from within. I think I like that.
I wish you well in your future pursuits. Hopefully your knowledge will be in good stead for your successor, and you will continue to become involved in more and new projects that excite you and therefore excite the Jewish community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.